Hey, it's Kyle here, and one of my favorite annual traditions I do on this channel is at the end of the year, I kind of count down my favorite books I've read that year, and I do it by genres, fiction, nonfiction, and Star Wars. And now that 2023 is coming to an end, it's time to look back at my favorite books that I read in the year. One thing I want to make clear is the books featured in this video are ones that I read this year, not necessarily were published this year. In this specific video, I'm going to be highlighting my favorite fiction books. So I'm going to do a top 5. So for all these books, I've done reviews on my channel. So if you're interested in learning more about these books, definitely check out those reviews. I really appreciate it. Before I get started, I also hope you hit that like button. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel if you like seeing a lot of book review content, because I do that throughout the year. So hope you enjoy. With that being said, here is my top 5 list. Starting off at number 5 for 2023 is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This is my second Agatha Christie book that I've read. In 2022, I read Murder on the Orient Express. I'd always wanted to read Agatha Christie, so I started out with that book, really loved it, made me want to read more. Read this one in 2023, loved it a lot. Still preferred Murder on the Orient Express. That was a slight preference for me, but I still really love this book. So if you enjoy mystery, classic whodunit, you'll really enjoy this. And there's a reason why Agatha Christie is viewed as kind of like the master of mystery. So it definitely made me want to read more of her books in the future. Next up is Poster Girl by Veronica Roth. Veronica Roth has always been a favorite author of mine ever since Divergent came out. I've really enjoyed her books. I think, honestly, this is probably my favorite books of hers since Divergent. I really enjoyed this. It's a very interesting dystopian book. It has a little bit of another mystery element. One thing you'll notice, there's a few books in my top 5 this year that have a mystery element. So it's kind of a unique combination of dystopian, mystery, very unique. It definitely had me guessing the entire time. I didn't initially see how it was going to play out, but how it did unfold made sense. Very interesting characters, a very interesting world that this book is set in. I think one thing Veronica Roth does really, really well, she's amazing at world building. And even in her standalone book, she makes you care about the characters very quickly. So if you enjoy dystopian, if you enjoyed stuff like Divergent, The Hunger Games, I think Poster Girl is one you'll enjoy a lot. I would definitely highly recommend you check out Poster Girl by Veronica Roth. Next up is Double Crossing the Bridge by Sarah Sover. Never read a book by Sarah before. I actually learned about this book by attending DragonCon in 2023. The author was on a panel I was attending talking about some of the best fictional bands in pop culture history. It's a very fun panel to attend on. And she plugged her book while she was there, and it sounded very fun and interesting. Well, I'll check it out. So I actually bought it at the panel. She signed it, very nice. And I'm glad I got this book kind of spontaneously because I really enjoyed it. It's a very funny book, very interesting concept, and basically it's kind of like taking like a caper heist style storyline, think of something like Ocean's 11, but setting it in this kind of like fantasy world where trolls and all these other sorts of fantastical creatures are actually real and just live underground. Humanity's kind of aware of them, but not really, and they actually control this bridge that all humans have to pay tolls for. And a certain group of these individuals, these trolls, decides, they're tired of just being the workers, and they want to get some of this money themselves. So they plan a heist to try to steal all this treasure that's being collected on this bridge. So you kind of get this very interesting of a fantasy story mixed with a heist, also having very vulgar, dark sense of humor. It's very much a very funny, gross out style book that I really enjoyed out a lot. I would say, like, if you kind of enjoy D&D, this is almost like a D&D high story, just with a rated R sense of humor. I really enjoyed it a lot. Sarah Sover is definitely a very talented author, and I'd encourage you to check this book out. My second favorite book that I read in 2023 is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. Many people are probably familiar with this. This is the second book in the King King Killer Chronicles. Love this book a lot. I did prefer the book number 1, The Name of the Wind. That book was amazing. This, that book was like nearly a 10 for 10 for me. This book was maybe like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. So still really loved it. Just not quite as much as the first book, but still has me super excited to hopefully read the conclusion of the series at some point. Obviously, I know there's no date for the 3rd book, but definitely after reading this book, my enthusiasm for the series was still very high. Very much, I would say, kind of a classic fantasy setting, which is weird because a couple of these books delve more in the fantasy genre, and I'm typically not a big fantasy person. I'm more of a sci-fi person, but I really enjoyed this one. So I would say, if you enjoyed stuff like Lord of the Rings, for example, I think you would enjoy this. I really enjoyed the concept of how the story is told. It's the characters are very interesting. I'm very excited to see where this story goes in the future. I think, like a lot of people, don't want to get a whole lot in the plot of this. It's just book 2 of a 3-book series. So if you haven't read book 1, the plot would really make a whole lot of sense. So I definitely encourage you to check out Name of the Wind. I think that'll hook you, and then read The Wise Man's Sphere. I think you'll be glad you did. And then my favorite book that I read, or I should say my favorite novel that I read in 2023, is Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, another part of the series. This is part of the Red Rising series. Red Rising is one of my favorite, if not my favorite book I've read in probably the last 10 years or so. Absolutely love that series. I've loved how it's developed. This is a sci-fi book set in Earth's future, but the society that has arisen has kind of drawn inspiration from like the ancient world. So all the names kind of have Roman and Greek roots. They've kind of mastered genetic engineering, so humanity's kind of been divided into these various caste systems. And the entire series kind of delves in with like the revolution to try to overthrow this hierarchy, and the ones that are fighting to kind of maintain this hierarchy. The characters on both sides, you get both sides of the storyline, are fascinating. The villains you absolutely will hate. The good guys also do bad stuff. That's one thing I really enjoy about Pierce Brown's writing. All the characters have shades of gray. Even like some of the evil characters, you can kind of see where they're coming from and understand their logic, even though they are doing horrific stuff. But then some of the good guys are rooting for are forced to do bad things to try to win. And it's amazing. Much like, think of something like Game of Thrones, Pierce Brown is not afraid to kill a character. So every time you become attached to a character, you're always worried, like, oh no, is this the next character that's going to die in a horrific death? But this book is absolutely amazing. The series is amazing. And I'm super excited because the next book is actually the conclusion of this series. And I'm very fascinated to see how Pierce Brown wraps the series up. He's an amazing author, I should say. World building's amazing. Character development's amazing. His books are very long, but I've never been disappointed after I've read one of the books in the series. So, Lightbringer by Pierce Brown was my favorite novel that I've read in 2023. So in the comment section below, let me know what was your favorite novel that you read in 2023. I'm always looking for recommendations, so I'd be interested to see what you enjoyed in 2023. And then also be sure to check out my other videos I'll be posting that highlights my favorite nonfiction books I read in 2023 and my favorite Star Wars books I read in 2023. All those we posted kind of beginning of January, so if they're not up yet, they will be soon. So again, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, again, hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy reading.